Okay, so today I'm going over one of my personal favorite moves in my repertoire, and also a move that's been on most spinners, especially tech heads, wish lists, at least at one point or another in their spinning career. Triquetra versus extension with 2-poi one hand. There are technically 4 different ways to do a triquetra versus extension for each orientation of the triquetra for each hand. So there's lots of different variations just within this one move, but really only 2 of those ways for each orientation for each hand are easy enough and controllable enough to keep continuous. Now you can do the other 2, it is possible. I would never say that's not possible, but it takes a lot more effort and it is extremely hard to keep continuous. But before I get into all that, I'm going to show you my triquetra versus extension just so you have a visual representation of what it looks like. As you can see right now, my triquetra is pointed down, but once you have an understanding of the mechanics, you are able to change the orientation somewhat easily. Here is pointed native, and then here is pointed top, and the hardest one, non-native. Depending on which way you're spinning your butterfly, could be native, but non-native. So now that you see the triquetra versus extension, there are technically, like I said earlier, 4 ways to do a triquetra versus extension. There is your butterfly thumb side starting clockwise to your audience or counterclockwise to yourself? Is your butterfly starting counterclockwise to your audience or clockwise to yourself? And are you doing the triquetra with the thumb and the extension with the pinky, or are you doing the extension with the thumb or the triquetra with the pinky? Now, the direction of your butterfly doesn't really matter except for personal preference. Some people, like me, think this is the easier butterfly and the more natural butterfly, and some people think that this is the easier butterfly and the more natural butterfly, and that's fine. Whatever one's easier for you, or if you put in the effort to get both really nice, awesome. All you need to know is which one you're doing so you know which direction to go through the hand path. The thing that does matter, which cuts out the half of the patterns that I was talking about earlier, is what finger is doing what part of the pattern. Most people think more complicated part of the pattern needs to go to the side that I have the most control with, which would be thumb. That is not the right school of thought. You can do it where your thumb does the triquetra. Like I said earlier, it's totally possible. It's hard, and it's really hard to keep continuous, and there is a point where you have to push through it, and it's not natural. When you do the triquetra with your pinky side and the extension with your thumb side, your hand just kind of falls into this natural orientation, and as long as you have a good timing, and as long as you have a nice clean extension with your thumb side, your triquetra will pretty much just do its thing. So I think that this butterfly is slightly easier, and so since I'm doing the butterfly where my thumb poi is going clockwise to my audience or counterclockwise to myself, I'm going to go native first to get my pinky to do the triquetra. And if I was doing this butterfly, then I would go non-native first to get my pinky to do the triquetra and my thumb to do the extension. Some things to try out before you do it with 2-poi, because if you just go straight into 2-poi, you're gonna smack them together a bunch. And a lot of the times when they smack together, they ricochet right back into your face or your head. It's gonna happen. So what I like to do is tell people to train just the pinky side of their poi and then point the extension with their pointer finger as if it was the second poi. So like I said, I start with the butterfly where the thumb poi goes clockwise for my audience. So I'm going to go native first. So I'm going to go native, and I'm going to point my finger through as if it was the extension the entire way. There is a certain way your hand needs to be at the 4 quadrants of the circle and in between. So I'm gonna go through that real quick, just like as if you were holding 2 poi in one hand and you weren't spinning them. Your knuckles are facing the floor. Well, that's the same way when you just are worrying about the hand path. My knuckles are facing the floor at the bottom. Native side, my palm is going to be up. And there is this part where your wrist also turns, so now your thumb is pointing behind you, and your pinky poi would be in front. So from here to here, the knuckles up at the top, and then palm down right here, but from here to the bottom, you need to reset to thumb front, so there is a roll right here, and then that goes back into the other roll. So it's kind of like rolling through the bottom part of the circle. Once you get a good point going, you will start to feel when it needs to happen, because you still have that whole rolling thing. You want to be thumb poi behind, thumb poi in front, thumb poi behind, thumb poi behind, thumb poi behind, front, behind, front, behind, front, behind. Just like when you're doing 2 poi 1 hand butterfly, your planes aren't going to be flat. There's going to be a considerable amount of tilt on both of them, and it's the same thing with your Triquetra versus extension. If you look at mine from the side, it is very much not in the same plane, but from the audience perspective, it looks like they are. That helps you keep which one's in front, which one's in back. Your thumb poi is going to be on a 45-degree angle like this, and your pinky poi is going to be on a 45-degree angle like this. That is the basic gist of it. Other than that, you can take this beyond just changing your orientations of your Triquetra into more advanced hybrids with 2 poi 1 hand. Eventually, it'll lead you into the 8-step cap, or the third order motion box mode flower versus box mode flower, or God forbid, real Zan's diamond. Other than that, if you have any questions, feel free to ask or message. I will try and get back to you as quickly as I can. Good luck.